Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Meet Kate Glendon, who once navigated the maze of life's challenges but has since transformed into a dedicated confidence coach for women. She has an affinity for global adventures, indulging in rich coffee, and empowering her clients to overcome the limiting beliefs that tether them to unfulfilling careers, stagnant relationships, and detrimental habits. As the spirited CEO of Glendon Coaching LLC and a certified professional mindset coach, Kate's core mission revolves around uplifting individuals to embrace their best lives with undaunted confidence. She's fervently dedicated to assisting women in rediscovering their self-worth and amplifying their self-confidence. Under her guidance, many have tapped into their inherent strength to soar. Welcome,
Yes, love
Kate.
that. So true. I love coffee
Yes,
and
oh, me
helping
too.
ladies. And it's been such a journey. And I'm super proud and grateful for where I've come from and how I've gotten here. And so glad to be helping people to ditch that self-doubt and embrace the confidence that they have. They just need a little help finding it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to ask you, what inspired you to pursue a career in helping individuals live with with their intention?
That is such a great question. And part of it is something I've always wanted to do. I was always in an industry of service, so helping others on a mission to educate them to have healthier lifestyles. And through my own life experience of going through, the highs and lows of, jobs, people pleasing, perfectionism, and just kind of that self-talk that we can live in fear constantly and worry, I did my own self-work. And then I went into exploring life coaching and working on myself through that. So everything I do, I've been through and I have taken my own program. So I'm a product of the product. And once I, got to the other side of that, constantly, waking up and worrying and not sure I was good enough and all of that. I was like, I can't be the only person in this world that is struggling with this. And if I've gotten through this, through everything, and it may have taken many years, I know that there's someone else that can need my help. And I just felt like it was my calling to do this. And I just kind of was like, okay, I'm doing this. Sign up to become a certified professional coach and mindset coach and launch the business. And then I learned the whole process of having a business and and going through it. But it was been such a journey and such a pleasure to see women find their inner strength to create new habits, to believe in themselves that they can, that I am so glad that I did it. Because people, especially, they need support. They need to be reminded of their worth because sometimes we can't see it and it's there. And we need to remember how, radiant and brilliant we are. And we forget that. And we're not going to get that from anyone else. It starts with us. And so we need to create a better relationship with ourselves.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I noticed that a lot of us are conditioned into thinking a certain way, feeling a certain way, and we listen to that nasty voice in our head. What are some ways that we can actually reframe our thoughts so we can start talking better to ourselves?
Yes. Like, oh my God, that noise chatter, like it can be so overbearing and just paralyzing, right? Because you start having this feeling, which then turns into a thought, which then you think is a reality. And so your feelings kind of shape your world because we just start to believe it. And it's not true, it's our own perception. So, what I ask you to do is when you're thinking and you're constantly ruminating about a worry or fear, you're not growing, you're stuck. So write it down. Like, what evidence do you actually have that that's going to happen? And, have you worried about this before? And what was the outcome? So reframing that thought to think about like what is actual factual about it. And if you're thinking about, I'm, not smart or not good enough. Write down all the evidence that you have that you are, because you have accomplished a lot of things in your life. You just don't remember. And you need a list of how great you are to remind yourself of that. So it's just remembering that not every feeling is true. Just sometimes they're just feelings, acknowledge them and let them go. Otherwise, you're going to shape a universe based on things that are not real. And that's what a lot of us do, because our feelings are so powerful, but we need to reclaim them. And that's one way of doing it. And write down things that you want to be. Like, how do you want to show up? Does the person of their best self show up, in constant doubt and indecision? No, they make good decisions. And so, write it down on a card. Like, I show up as a person that makes good decisions and believe in themselves. And then you start to restructure your brain to believe in that, and you take action.
Yes, I always say action is the most important thing you can do, because we can always read the books and then it becomes shelf help. And we really need to take
Yes.
on that action for sure. And you reminded me, I remember, long time ago when I was having a mentor, I think she was also a mindset coach. She told me, yes, write down all your goals, like a vision board, what you want and pictures and whatever. But don't forget about what you already have accomplished. Think about that too. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't think about what we've actually have accomplished in the past. We kind of like leave that alone. I know they say, oh, don't think about the past, but those are the good things to think about the past. Think about the good things. And so I love the fact that you brought that up, that, hey, look at what you've already accomplished, because you can still do that and more. It's great.
Exactly. We get limited in our fear. We can't live that way, and you have to go through it. You have to face it, and it's really not as bad as we make it out today. And these are growing moments.
Yes, it's like that saying, the only way out is through, and we have to just go through it. And sometimes it's not going to be pretty, and that's okay. It's just gonna,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
sometimes we got to get a little messy to get a little, unstuck and go through it. And you have to be willing to do that, because that takes you to the next level. If we stay comfortable our whole lives, are you really, elevating and leveling up? That's fine, but we don't want to stay stagnant. We want to take it to the next level. And that is being okay with being uncomfortable for a little bit if it's going to result in a better feeling, a better life, reaching your ultimate goal. And I ask you, like, do you have a future goal? And what is it? What does that look like? And how do you want that to feel? And sometimes that can help us get through that negative chatter. Like, if you're so focused on this beautiful future memory that you want in your life, and how that feels and what steps you need to do to get there, that can really help to reframe everything, because you're now focused on a goal rather than fear.
Yes, fear. I always say, oh, fear, but then there's always the courage that we have to look forward to. We have to build that courage and just go for it, is what I always say. Now, I notice a lot of people are always overwhelmed, especially these times. They're just like, oh, I'm burnt out at work. I'm doing too much. I'm a mom. I'm this, I'm that. They play a lot of hats, many hats. Now, how do you think overwhelm actually impacts their mental state?
Wow, that is such a great question. You know, it is everything. Like, it affects your physical body, whether it's headaches, stress, fatigue, everything, to how you show up. If you are, you're not getting things done, you're, multitasking, thinking that that's going to help with everything that you overwhelmed with, when actually that makes things worse. You need to, you're so worried about the future with everything that you have to do. And I'm talking about what you have to do at night, not just the next day. It's staying focused in the moment. Like, focus, what do you need to do during this 1 hour, and get that done, and then move on to the next. And then a lot of times I ask, like, well, where are you spending your time that you are, overwhelmed with everything? What can you delegate? Where are you spending your time? Where can you cut back? And is what you're doing and spending your time on really helping you get towards where you want to go? Or is it just kind of things that you feel like you should be doing? So it's a whole reevaluating it, and remembering that we put so much pressure on ourselves to accomplish things, and how much of it is realistic. Time, if it's, there are time things and time crunches for work and deadlines, but there's plenty of enough time in life to do so much. So if you take that off your shoulders, usually you feel a lot better. And, when we're feeling overwhelmed, what steps can you take in the moment? Whether it's deep breathing, a 7-minute walk to kind of reframe and rethink and get control, because you have control over how you feel. You just need to kind of stay tethered to the task at hand and stop worrying about what you have to make for dinner at 7 a.m. because that's not important right now. What's important is what you have to do exactly during this hour to get to the next one. And if you're that overwhelmed, that's where we start, exactly what you can handle, what's going on. And what is your to-do list? Is your to-do list like 5 pages long that it's just like, that's too much? Like, break it down into 3 things. Do 3 things today. And, an easy one, a hard one, and a medium one, and get those 3 things done. And that's amazing. If that's work things, whether that's one work, one house, one family thing, then you're checking things off in all, categories of your life. And that really helps to kind of get things back on track. It's okay to get off track, get overwhelmed, but there's always a way back. You just have to choose to want to get on, you know, overwhelmed.
Yeah, totally. And you remind me that I just got back from San Diego. Last weekend there was an event. It was an all-female entrepreneur event, and it was really, 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 really fun. But like at the end, the lady was like, okay, I know everyone's mind is thinking, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, and this, that to grow their business and whatnot. And she's like, I want you to write down the 5 things that you want to focus on. So we wrote down the 5 things. So now I want you to write the 3 things you're going to focus on. And then the one thing, we write it down. So I want you just to focus on that one thing. Because, we're just
It's
thinking about
so
all this stuff.
true.
It's our
It's so
minds.
true. We like want to do everything. And I think that's so great that we have, such inspiration and passion to do so many things. But then we need to just be realistic and like take your calendar out and see what's like available to do. And, we all have a lot of things to do. We all have the same amount of time in the day, but we can all be more efficient with our time. And it's a relationship with time. If you're always coming from a place of, I don't have enough time, then you're always going to feel overwhelmed. But if you frame it in a different way where time is on my side, I have enough time to do everything, and I'm going to shape my calendar in a way that creates time freedom for me and doing things that are most important, you'll be able to be in control of your own calendar instead of your calendar controlling you.
Totally. And another thing that I love that someone had mentioned is that on your phone, how we have our calendars and everything's there, and we also set reminders. Send a reminder, on one of those hectic days and say, hey, have you taken a moment just to slow down for yourself? Have you taken a walk today? Or how can you make yourself feel empowered within this next 5 minutes? So we need those little breaks too, like, because we feel like we do. And then we're like, well, but we need to like step back a little bit and then do something that will make us feel better, like the breathing that you had mentioned, and or even just taking a walk outside. Those are really, really great tools to have. And it's available and it's free.
Exactly. We're so like busy with like, oh, hustle, hustle, hustle. And that's great. But then we totally neglect ourselves. And we need to also take care of ourselves. So there's that balance. And how are you going to do that? And that's by scheduling things for yourself.
Right.
The reminders in your phone are great. I mean, that is probably like the best way to use technology these days is telling yourself to slow down, putting like an empowerment, quote or a reminder to get outside, just to ground yourself. It's so important.
Yeah, grounding is very important. Now, how does setting clear boundaries actually contribute to avoiding burnout?
Yes, because when you're saying yes to everything, you're saying no to yourself. And how do you expect to pour from an empty cup? you're not going to. I mean, you can do so for so long, but then you are hurting yourself because you end up kind of in this relationship with like not taking care of yourself and getting frustrated that you have no time for yourself or being on the go all the time and realizing that you're missing out on time with other people, like your family, your spouse, yourself. And then you are just exhausted all the time. And if you can only be on that path for so long until you burnt out, and then until you have physical effects. And saying no is great because then you become very specific and very mindful of what you do. And it creates intention. You're showing up with passion. You want to be there. You're just not going because you said yes and you'd rather be home. You are happy, you're inspired, you're vibrating at a different level, and you're taking care of yourself when you're not going to those things that are not aligned with your goals, your work, and your worth. It's okay. We're so used to wanting to people please, but then, we end up just being mad at ourselves that we're getting home late or we have another thing to do and we'd rather be just home watching a movie with our family. And it's important to understand when to say yes and when to say no and what is really important. And start with saying no to one thing a week.
Yes. If you're saying yes, you have to say no to something else. It's just the balance,
Yeah,
and that's how it works, Like I used to be a yes, ma'am, and say yes to everything until I'm like, where's the exchange? It's not even happening.
right. And then I'm like, okay, when can I leave?
Yeah.
And people know when you don't want to be there and you're just there because, like you said, yes, like people would rather you be honest or just, cancel or what I practice now is, okay, I'll have to get back to you because I always be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do it or I'm not into it. And then I've already committed. So, take a moment to pause and let them know you'll get back to them.
Absolutely. Now, what are your top tips for maintaining a harmonious balance between work responsibilities and the home life?
Great. So I struggled with this for many years because I was like, work, work, work. Like that was my identity for so long. And I kind of had to separate that. And that was hard. And that was, first off, I put my phone in the other room, like at night after dinner, so that if work texted or emails came through, I didn't see them. And that was hard because like you use your phone for other things. And then or I would delete the Outlook app on the weekends and reload it during the week. So if it was really that important, they would call. So those were just some tips just to kind of start slowly. And then it was looking at my calendar. It's like, okay, before I agree to a night event, what's on my calendar, like personally? Can I handle this? And, saying like, oh, sorry, I've already had something pre-scheduled and just going with it. And then when I didn't do that and I just said, okay, yeah, and the time came, I was like, oh, why did, I learned my lesson and realizing, okay, what's important? Is it friend time for me? What am I craving? What do I want to do? What haven't I done lately? What is going to help me feel better? And, what memory do I need right now? Is it a friend memory? Is it family memory? It's all about what my body wanted and understanding that the people who matter in your life totally understand where you are and they respect that. And so often we're afraid to cancel or not do anything or say no. And the people who love you will not care. And so it's kind of reevaluating your values and where you want to go and stand and being okay with that. And it's not easy at first. And so I encourage you to start slowly because it's
Yeah,
going to feel a little weird
you're
because you've
right.
never done it before and it's new and it's okay. But you get used to it and it becomes second nature.
Yeah, I guess the key is like practice, practice, and
Yeah,
practice. That is the
it's
key.
don't give up, be persistent, and it's okay. And, we may take a step back, but then you remember your ways and your strategies and you move forward. And it's going to look different for everyone because everyone's at a different point in their life.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. Now, how do you define living with intention? And then can you provide some like tangible examples for that?
Sure. So living it with intention to me is living with knowing where you want to go, knowing what your best self would do in the situation. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's about, what is your future memory? What do you want in a few years? What are you looking to accomplish in 5 years? So that when you now, 5 years earlier, you are starting to create goals and milestones to get you to that future memory. So you're showing up every day, living a life with someone who, is striving for that memory, has that goal every day, almost like already achieved to get to the next milestone because you want it so bad. So it could be, a goal of having a successful business with new clients or, a happy and loving marriage. And so what are those characteristics that you need to do to show up that way so that you are subconsciously changing and restructuring your brain to rewire it to show up living it with it already achieved. So, if I had a goal of I'm so happy and grateful now that, I have $2,000 in my bank account, what actions am I taking now? I am, being cost effective with my savings. I am, shopping with coupons. I believe that I am, have a great savings and I'm showing up. And those are just some examples. And, or it could be a thriving business and I show up and act like a CEO or a director of my business every day. And I think like her, I make decisions like her, and I show up as a rock star. And so sometimes that it helps us when we're feeling stuck and we're like, I don't know what path to go on. Okay, well, let's figure out where you want to go. And then how would that person show up? How would they feel? What does that look like for them? And can you picture that for yourself? And, what would they need to do right now to get to that next step? And I think that
Right.
that's so important. And that gives you a clear path to where you want to go rather than kind of sitting in doubt and indecision of, I don't know what to do. I'm confused, so that you're killing off all of their options, all the, and quieting the mind and you're getting laser focused on what you need to do every day.
Yes, and I love that laser focus and what you're going to be doing in the day. Now, like, people are always stressed out, especially with work. They have anxiety and they're like struggle with distress. And now, how do these challenges typically manifest in someone's daily life?
Well, it could be, we call them the Sunday scaries, right? It's Sunday comes and it's like, oh, I have to go back to work. I have to live again until Friday so I can get to the weekend. And so that is the worry, the fear, the anxiety, which eats at you, which is headaches, crying before work, the stomach aches, the overeating, the over drinking, the, quietly quitting at work. And we're so stressed out that we don't think straight. We could make mistakes. And then we, sometimes we take it out on our loved ones because we're so stressed out and we forget about that. And when you're in a situation like that, I want to ask you something because I've been in it. Is it really worth it? Is this, so stress going to matter in 5 years from now, a year from now? Is this going to be a regret from you in 10 years that you wasted all this time and worry and stress when you could look for other options to be happy or take steps to reclaim your power through, you know, resting and refocusing in the way that works for you? Because we forget that we think we just have to push through, it will get better instead of being like, no, I'm reclaiming my power and I'm going to choose a different way, different path that's less stressful and be more mindful rather than, trying to be this, prideful person of pushing through. I'm not saying you need to give up on everything, but I think sometimes you have to figure out and weigh how much it's really worth all the effects it's having on your body and your relationships because it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, they always say, make sure you have your best energy when you come home. Leave all that BS behind and bring your best energy because your family deserves the best energy. I mean, the families that deserve your energy is what I'm
right?
saying. Not all families
And
deserve your energy like that.
everyone deserves your best energy, but there are energy suckers. And unfortunately, sometimes it's really hard to leave work at home or
Mhm.
family at home or everything like that. And when your, work is coming home all the time, you know, I want you to think about that. Why? What do you need to do for that not to happen?
Yeah, observe it and say, what am I, why am I feeling this way? Am I supposed to even be feeling this way? Because I think we're all supposed to be feeling pretty good, darn good here. But
Yes,
I think,
absolutely. And when something is feeling too, bad too many times in a row, that's something to journal about.
yeah, and that's not good. And that's not, I don't even know what normal is, but that wouldn't be like the norm, is to feel bad all the time. Like, who wants to feel bad all the time? I want to feel good all the time. Forget the bad.
Yeah, and I am a survivor of coming through the other end of not the best places of, being in places where you're so stressed out all the time and the effects
Right.
it had on everyone in my relationships, my family, my friends, my husband. And in the end, it's not worth it. And I decided to take responsibility for that and take action. And it was the hardest and best thing I ever could have done.
Yes, that's taking that work for yourself, doing that work for yourself is so worth it. And it's not going to be overnight. It's going to take time, but it's so worth it and everyone will benefit from your transformation.
It
Everybody will
is
benefit.
true because when you're vibrating at a high vibration because you love yourself, you know your worth, and you're happy, it all comes back to you. But when you're
Abs-
so low, you're attracting low. And we
That is
want
true.
to not do that. We want to be attracting the most amazing things.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned like, hey, if you want to be a certain way, act a certain way, find somebody that you can model that you're like, oh, I love how this person does that, and become that, embody that, start seeing how would they dress, how would they talk, how would they eat, how would they walk, and just start taking that into action. And then it if that aligns then to your personality, to your spirit, then you'll see it just come naturally and you'll be doing that. It's really interesting, it's very fun.
It is. I remember doing that. I'm like, okay, I'm just here. This is a transition. I'm showing up as, a future manager and taking actions and dressing up and wearing. It was like, it was fun. It was like you're acting, but you're really just practicing for your next role, your next
Exactly.
job.
I love how you said that. That is perfect. I want to talk about your coaching. Is there a process
Yeah.
that you take your clients through, or how do you do it?
So the process that I take my clients through is very unique to their own situation, which I think is so special because everyone's at a different place and I love to meet them where they are. And, we go through what we call discovery calls to find out exactly, where they are, where they feel stuck, and how can we move them through to the next level. So through that process and my proven strategies that I've gone through as well, um, we work together to create a roadmap to get them to where they want to be. So, I help guide them to reach their best self. And that could be through creating a healthier body and mindset through weight loss. That could be overcoming imposter syndrome so that they realize their worth and their journey is no one else's but theirs. So they stop comparing themselves to other people and embrace their worth. And we develop steps so that they get their voice and power back. And, we go through different um, kind of overcoming barriers. We develop that mission goals and vision statements so that they know exactly where they're going. And I want to know where they're getting stuck because then I can help them even more. So it's a lot about kind of taking them through the process of where they are now and how do I get them to where they want to be. But they do the work, which is so great. And I just give them some tools and tips and guide them to it. It's so amazing.
That's awesome. Now, can you actually share a success story or some type of transformational experience with one of your clients while working
Sure.
with you?
So, I had, you know, Susie who was struggling, she's pre-diabetic, BMI, was kind of obese and higher, through a year of working with her, and I would say less than a year.
Oh, wow.
Susie lost 5% of her body fat, increased her movement to over, you know, 30 minutes a day, and
Wow.
then got very close to lowering, her medications for type 2 diabetes. And so that was so amazing to see someone lose that much weight and be so dedicated in going from eating, out all the time to kind of learning the process of how to eat healthy, what that means to them without going on any kind of crazy elimination diet. Others were, getting over that fear of what other people would think about them if they launched their business and what that would look like. What did we need to do to move on from the past, to forgive ourselves, to forgive what we needed to, forgive to and accept for us to hit publish on that online business and get it started. And so a lot of that was building up self-confidence and self-worth. And that was wonderful to see that finally launched on the internet.
That is so cool. And I'm sure they're all successful. They're like, hey, I launched my business. I'm doing so awesome now.
Yeah, but I mean, just think about, those moments if they didn't take a chance on themselves to realize, hey, like I need some help on embracing my worth. I, they took a risk and I
Mhm.
just provided them with my guidance and my proven strategies and process. And we work together, but and they do the work. I'm here for them and I guide them. And it's just so great how it all comes together because
Yeah.
everyone is responsible for their life, their
Mhm.
choices. And when they're ready to take action and realize that, they're unstoppable.
Yeah, totally. Now, with the focus on total wellness, what holistic approaches do you actually integrate into your coaching?
So, I think the mind, body, and soul all are connected. So I think getting trained as a mindset coach was so important because a lot of it starts with what we're telling ourselves. And getting through those limited beliefs is the first step in starting the journey to loving ourselves so that we can start building healthy habits. And so, what that would look like is, just simple things of practicing our gratitudes for the day and being thankful. You know, how are we reframing our negative thoughts? And looking at like what are you eating? What do you love? What don't you like about, your health right now? How could we change that? What's changeable for you? What would a healthy lifestyle look like for you? Because I can't, I want it to work for them. I want it to be unique and special for them, and one, what works for one isn't going to work for the other. So it's a combined things of food, exercise, and mind.
Mhm. That's what I love, is it has to be with the spirit, has to be with the body and the mind. They all work together
They
until
do. And if you don't include them, then you're missing out on one. And
right.
and it may not always work because we have to get through those habits that are, that are in our mind. What's your trigger for doing certain things?
Yes. And now what are your top 3 tips for someone looking to live more confidently and have greater happiness in their daily life?
That's such a good question. So the top three tips for just, being more confident and having greater happiness is realize what you already have. So often live in lack. Oh, I don't have this yet. I don't have this yet. But what do you have that's working? Focus on that first. There's so many things, and it can be anything. And I think that's so important that we focus on what we have rather than what we don't have. And then understanding that you are worthy, because look at how far you've made it in through life. You're resilient. You've come through so many challenges so far, and embrace that. And don't put yourself down for not meeting someone else's expectation. You need to meet your own expectations and write those down. What are your current values? What are the things that you want to achieve in life? Do a little self, kind of audit. What areas in your life would you like to improve? And maybe a step or two to do that. And confidence comes with practicing, and
Mhm.
practicing that, the more that you embrace your uniqueness and realize that your path is your path, and it's okay to be exactly where you are. Time is on your side. You are just where you're supposed to be. That the next step will be revealed to you when it's ready. That I think that helps you to understand that it's a process, and
Mhm.
we have to give ourselves time for confidence to get built up if we're starting from a very, kind of lower end. And you'll get there, but it's repeat and repetition,
Mhm.
and keep trying. Persistent pays off.
Yes, persistency is key. And consistency, and also perseverance and patience. All of those together. Whoop, there you
Yes,
are. There's your dream person right there, which is already within you. It's already there, because if you're already thinking it and imagining it, it already exists. So,
absolutely. I mean, you have it inside of you. The power is there. We just need to tap into it. You
right.
have it. You don't need to go buy it. You're not going to go get it at a store. You're not going to get it online. You need to tap into it.
Yes, it's available. And this is where you come in to help them as
Yeah,
well.
yes. And that is so special. And I love that I'm able to do that. And the best place to reach me is on my website at glendoncoaching.com.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just going to ask, yeah, where can, our audience like follow you, find you? Thank you for the website, but are you on social media as well?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. You can find me there at K Glendon underscore coaching, or on Facebook as well. And on my website, it has all the links to that as well. And you can sign up for my newsletter and get all my insider freebies and talks and all that fun stuff. I do have a resource page on my website as well.
That is awesome. And I will have all of those in the show notes for you. And just lastly, if someone's actually feeling stuck or unfulfilled in their life or in a current situation, now what's the first step they should take towards, of course, living a more intentional life?
Ooh, I would just ask them, what do they want to feel? What would their best self want to feel right now? And what do they need to get there? And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be big, but what's one feeling higher than they feel right now? And what do they need to do to get there?
Yeah, it's like turning that dial a little bit more, like that little confidence dial. If you just turn it in a little bit, what does that look like?
Yes. And then turn it up higher the next
Yes,
week.
exactly. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for joining me today. I am sure our listeners are going to be like taking notes or re-listening and then getting their notepad out and taking notes. But thank you
I
so
hope so.
much. Yeah, such good value. Thank you so much again.
I'm so happy to be here and talk to you soon.
Thank you.